and welcome to today's session. I'm Asmita, your IELTS mentor here at Vedantu, and today I'm going to take you through the different kind of questions that you can expect to see in your IELTS listening test. Now, if you haven't seen the video where I solve some sample listening tasks with you, then please go watch that video first, because there I give you a breakdown of what the listening test is going to be like, and we look at some sample tasks from a listening test and answer them together. So that is a good way for you to familiarize yourself with this part of the test first. Once you do that, then this session is going to make a lot more sense. So please go watch that, come back here. This one's not going to be too long, just going to quickly give you tips and strategies for each question category, okay? Before we do that, please do not forget to hit the subscribe button and follow us on Telegram. There's a lot of noise on the internet, and if you want to cut through that noise and single-mindedly focus on your dream to go study abroad and build a career for yourself, then it's very important for you to stay focused even when you're chilling, because exposing yourself to a lot of different kind of content that gives you just conflictingly different information can confuse the crap out of you. So please make sure you're subscribed to channels that you can trust, and I guarantee you can trust us. We're working very hard to bring the right information to you and help you out in any way possible. Okay, so what are the types of questions that you can expect to see? Now, there are 4 basic types. MCQ with 3 options: matching, labeling, and filling. MCQ with 3 options, I would say is perhaps the easiest. There is no reason for you to get these questions wrong. They're going to be extremely factual, right? You're just going to listen to a fact that's being stated. In fact, everything is factual, right? There's no opinion-based questions in the listening test. But here, you can see those 3 options right in front of you, and you just have to pick one as soon as you hear it, okay? So no reason for you not to score full marks when it comes to this part of the test. Matching is where things get a little confusing, I would say. I'm not gonna lie to you. Matching is confusing because there's a lot going on. See, already one part of the test that's going on continuously is that you're listening to somebody talk, or you're listening to a conversation. Now, you need to focus on this. At no point should you lose focus here. 100% concentration on listening to the conversation. At the same time, in your head, you already know what is the information that you're looking for, because you went through the questions in advance. You get some time before you listen to the recording to understand the questions that you're supposed to answer. So you already know exactly what information you're looking out for. So simultaneously listening, and as soon as you hear something that is a potential answer for one of the question, your brain goes, let's write this down, okay? Now, the thing with matching is there's one set here, there's one set here. You're supposed to listen, you're supposed to match these sets, and then you're supposed to pick an answer. A is 1, B is 3, C is 2, or whatever combination is being formed, okay? So there are many steps in this process. So this engages your brain a lot more than an MCQ would, and that's why chances for you to miss out on information is a big possibility. Could be that you're so focused on making this making this combination and picking one of the options that you stop paying attention to the recording, or you're so lost in the recording that you stop paying attention to these and you're unable to make a combination. So when to focus on which thing becomes a key player here when it comes to answering the matching questions, okay? Then you have labeling. Now, labeling entails labeling a layout, a diagram. For example, you'll have the layout of a particular area, I don't know, public park, and then the person in the recording is just going to explain which section is what, and then you're just supposed to pick out the correct thing for each area, the correct name or the correct function of each area, and you're just going to write the correct corresponding number with it, okay? This is area A. A could be, I don't know, a library. This is area B. B could be, outside seating. So anything over here needs to correspond to whatever you are labeling. Okay, not that difficult. Chances for you to again miss out on information is a little bit high when it comes to labeling, but it's not too difficult. I would say matching still has a lot more going on than labeling does. And then finally you have the filling information. Here you're supposed to write down the answer on your own. You're not picking something. There is no pick and choose. Here you're writing it down by yourself. So here there is this additional responsibility to look out for spellings, right? If it's a measurement, or if it's, you know, currency, then specifying the right unit. All of these things become additional factors. Making sure you're sticking to the word limit, that's also a big factor here when it comes to filling out information on your own. Now, where you have to fill out information, we'll go through that bit by bit. Let's start looking at these kind of questions and the strategy we need to have one by one. Starting with our MCQ section. So what kind of a question can you expect here? Nothing too complicated. For example, something very simple like, what time does the train to Edinburgh depart? What time does the train leave? And you'll have three options: 6:15, 6:20, or you could have 6:50, right? So here, one potential reason why you can get the answer wrong is you confuse 6:15 and 6:50. So number one thing you need to look out for, confusing distractors. Okay, make sure you're listening very carefully so that you don't get distracted by one of these options that are meant to throw you off. The entire point of having options like this is to throw you off, right? So make sure you protect yourself against that. Usually when there is really confusing information, it will be specified either very slowly, very clearly, or sometimes even twice. So look out for these things. All right. Second thing is maybe the question doesn't state the detail in the same way as the recording. For example, in the recording, the word depart is not used. In the recording, it simply says, what time does the train leave? All right. So here you need to know that the word leave means depart. So second thing you're going to look out for are synonyms and paraphrasing. If something has been, the same thing has been mentioned or asked about using different words, or the same piece of information has been worded slightly differently, has been paraphrased or rephrased. Okay, so these are the two main things you need to look out for. Now, in case you are unable to answer or tick the right answer while listening to the recording, and now you're a little bit behind, here's a pro tip for you. What you can do while taking the listening test is jot down all important information. So for example, I, for some reason, did not take a look at the questions in advance, and now I am a little confused and lost. I cannot read and listen at the same time. If you get stuck in such a situation where you cannot read the question and listen at the same time, and you feel like you're just going to miss out on all the information, forget the question, jot down all the key details. Be like, okay, train is leaving this time. Where does it leave from? This address. So everything that you think can be a potential question, quickly take notes. So here, taking notes can really help. Once you're done taking the notes, very quickly read the question. From your notes, find the detail, take the correct answer. Okay, so that's it for MCQ. MCQs are going to be very easy. Okay, I will show you a sample MCQ later on, right? Because we've already answered MCQ questions in the first video where we solved the sample task together. So if you've seen that video, you already know what an MCQ question looks like. Okay. Now we can move on to the second kind of question, which is matching. Now, because I haven't shown you a matching question before, I'm just going to take you to the sample task and show you the question itself. Okay. Here we are. Now, this is what a matching question can look like. The question is saying, what does Jack tell his tutor about each of the following course options? The three things are, he'll definitely do it, he may or may not do it, he won't do it. Okay. And then you have to write the correct letter, which is A, B, or C, next to these questions. Okay. So, as you can see here, the questions, what are they? The questions here are different subjects or courses, right? So in the recording, this guy over here, what's his name? Jack is telling his tutor that, okay, media studies, I won't do. Women in power, I'll definitely do. This I may or may not do. He's giving his opinion and he's giving his plans with respect to these courses to his tutor, right? So you need to keep your ear out for this, not your eye out, your ear out, okay? And you need to make sure that you clearly listen, okay? Media studies, I'm not too sure, maybe. If he says something like that, then he may or may not do it. Women in power, if he's saying, nah, this is something I'm definitely not interested in, then that means he won't do it. So even in the recording, he will not clearly say, I'll definitely do it, I may or may not do it, I won't do it. He might say these three different things in different ways. And you need to be able to understand that, okay, when he says this, he means this. When he says this, he means this. That much you need to do in your own brain. Now, a trick for you over here is, instead of trying to write down these letters next to this simultaneously, if you think that's too overbearing for you, you can't do it, then another thing that you can very easily do is abbreviate all of these courses. So when he's talking about media studies, just write media studies. He's saying, okay, he won't do it. Women in power, okay, he's saying he'll definitely do it. Culture society, that he's saying he won't do it. So make these notes first. And once you're done making these notes, then come to this part and write down the correct letter based on these notes that you have made, if you're unable to do it simultaneously over here. Because what might happen is, he might talk about identity and popular culture first and media studies later. So you're spending a lot of time just looking for what he's talking about, and because of that, you're getting distracted. So again, here, you can make your notes first and then you can do the whole corresponding, the correct thing with the different questions. Okay, so that can be your strategy while doing matching questions. Now, the plan, map and diagram labeling, which is the next kind of question that we saw here. I'll just take you to that question and show you, because we've already done the labeling of a box, right? The answers are still marked here. So this was more of a form filling, actually. I won't call that a labeling. We labeled the layout. Yeah, sorry. So let's come to the layout. 1 second. There we are. So this is a quintessential labeling question where you will have everything written on the side. You just have to pick out the correct letter and write it in the correct spot next to the question number. Okay. So here, while listening to the recording, step by step, the recording took me through the layout of the library. And as it took me through the layout of the library, I was able to say, okay, this is where the reference books are kept, or this is where the periodicals are kept, etc., etc. Now here, chances are again the same thing. You might not have enough time to look at this list and write the correct letter. So what you can do here is that instead of looking at this list, which you should have ideally done before listening to the recording, you should have taken a look at this before listening to the recording. But in case you forgot and you're unable to pay attention to this while listening to the talk, then what you can do is simply write down whatever she is saying over here. So if in the recording she's saying, okay, that's the first area that we come to, and the area here is where I keep all the reference books, then I've just quickly written down reference books. In this area, what did she say? She keeps the newspapers, magazines, we also keep the photocopier. So I've just quickly noted down everything she said about this area. So once I'm done listening to the recording, I can always just tally these with these and come up with the correct letter that I need to put. See, it all depends on how fast you're able to read and can you listen and read at the same time. So this is kind of testing your multitasking skills. So very important for you to be a good multitasker here without losing focus. There is no time in the IELTS listening test for you to be thinking about anything else. You're just focused on the task at hand. That's all. Okay, so this is a quintessential labeling task and a filling task. Again, something like this, where you have a form or notes or a summary. It could be a form, it could be notes, it could be a summary. Generally, when you have a form, the kind of information that you'll have to fill out is address, name. For example, the box question that we did, the very first box question, dimensions of the box, total value of the contents of the box, stuff like that. Okay, here we are filling out some notes. Somebody is making notes. They're already organized for you. You just have to fill out the corresponding information. Now, when it comes to this, the number one thing that you need to take care of is word limit. Make sure you don't exceed it. If it's 3 words, it's 3 words. Stick to it. 1 word is fine. 2 words are fine. 3 words are fine. 3 words plus a number is fine, but make sure you do not go up to 4 words. All right. Second thing that you need to look out for, spelling of confusing things. Now, confusing things will be spelled out for you. For example, in the first form that we filled, the name of the person, Jacob Mkere, was confusing. So they spelled it out for us very clearly in the recording. They said M-K-E-R-E. So we wrote it down exactly as it was spelled out. Same thing with Westall. They clearly stated, okay, it has double L in it. Make sure you're doing this. Whenever you have units, make sure you are specifying the units or you're going to lose marks. All right. So these are your different kinds of questions. If I come across anything else, let me just quickly show you. Again, this is completion. This is sentence completion. So here it gives you a limit of 2 words, not even 3. It gives you a limit of 2 words and you're supposed to listen to the recording and complete the sentence. In a sentence completion kind of a question, there's going to be a lot of rephrasing or paraphrasing. Right? You're going to again have to look out for spellings and you're also going to look out for synonyms. Here you can write it down directly as it is said. That is also fine when it comes to sentence completion. Okay, so this is a sentence completion kind of a question. Let me show you the answers that you can see here. See, motivation, time management, modules, summer schools. There's a lot of leeway given to you over here. For example, everything that you see here in brackets are optional things. If you've written them, it's fine, it won't be incorrect. If you haven't written them, again, you will get the marks. So there is leeway when it comes to filling questions. So don't worry too much, okay, is time management a compound word or no? Do I have to put a hyphen there or not? Don't worry too much about these things because there will be some leeway given to you all the time. All right. So these are all our different kind of questions. Let's look at another matching question because matching I feel is always a little bit much. See here again, you're given names of different hotels and these are just descriptors. These are certain things that these hotels have. that are unique to them, and you're supposed to listen to the recording, figure out what is unique to which hotel, which one of these is in a rural area. Write that down here, which one opened recently. Now here, one important thing to pay attention to, this is not going to follow the same order. Understand that, right? The recording is not going to follow the same order. It doesn't necessarily talk about this first and then this and then this. No, it can always talk about which hotel opened recently, which hotel has a swimming pool. That can also happen. It might not. Generally, to keep things easy, this does follow an order, but it might not. So make sure you read everything in advance. That's the best advice for the listening part of the IELTS. Read the questions in advance, because if I've gone through this in advance, I know the kind of details that I need to look out for. They're going to give me a lot of information. They're going to tell me maybe 4 different things about the Bridge Hotel. But the only thing I'm concerned about are these things. They'll tell me 5 things about the Carlton House. But the only thing I need to know about the Carlton House is, for example, that it opened recently. They're going to tell me 5 things about the Majestic. But the only thing I care about when it comes to the Majestic is that it has an indoor swimming pool, right? So if you read the questions in advance, you're going to know exactly the kind of details that you have to focus on, and you're just not going to get distracted by all the information overload. All right? So this is a general breakdown for you of the kind of questions that you will see. Now let's just come to a little bit of tips and tricks, the kind of stuff that you need to be careful about, okay? Again, I cannot emphasize this enough, so I'm writing it down. Read questions in advance. If you're not reading the questions in advance, you are going to be completely lost when it comes to listening and answering at the same time. Even if you're an extremely fluent speaker, even if you know everything, chances are you're just going to get stuck somewhere and you're going to miss out on what is being said. See, if you could listen to the recording multiple times, then none of these things would have been an issue, right? You miss out on something, rewind a little bit, listen again, easy breezy. But you can only listen to recordings once. I'm going to write that down so you remember. Even while practicing, please do not get into the habit of listening to a recording more than once. If you have missed out on a detail, you've missed out on it. There is no going back, okay? So can only listen to a recording once. Be honest while practicing as well. Give yourselves the 40 seconds you get to read the questions. That's fine, okay? Take notes if you miss out, okay? For example, if a certain detail has been said, let's say a phone number has been said, okay? This number has been said. Okay, I don't know if this is an answer to a particular question. I am not sure if I'm supposed to write it down. But this is a long, complicated number. There is no way that I'm going to remember this in the next even 30 seconds, right? I'm going to remember this maybe for 5 seconds max. So if there's some complicated information like this and you're not sure if it's an answer to a question, write it down anyway. Write it down just in case. What's hurting you? Just write it down, okay? And you see, answers like this particular area is used for public gatherings. If public gatherings is an answer for my sentence completion, this is something I can remember. But if it's a pin code, okay, if it's a number, phone number, if it's an address, okay, chances are I'm going to forget these things very soon. So stuff that you can remember, fine, that's okay, even if you don't write it down. Stuff that you know you're going to forget, make sure you jot it down, even if it's not an answer to one of your questions. You have 10 minutes to transfer all your answers to your answer sheet. So whatever you write in your question paper is just whatever you're writing, okay? Now, while preparing, remember that this part of the test is testing your listening, your understanding of information. So when it comes to listening, mainly if you can understand the different accents of English. When it comes to understanding, if you get important information that is provided to you, okay, and your application of that understanding. So if you're able to apply this to different formats, that's going to be useful for you in your life, right? This is what the listening test is essentially testing, okay? Now, to prepare for all these different things, you don't just have to do sample listening tests. If you keep doing sample IELTS listening tests again and again and again and again, chances are you're going to get very bored and fed up. So different ways you can prepare for the listening test. Accents, I've already told you, podcasts, things that you're interested in. So I'm going to specify interesting podcasts, okay? Shows, listen to those. If you're able to retain important information, again, podcasts can really help you with this. Audiobooks can really help you with this, right? And different formats, this is where your practice tests will come in handy, because that gives you very specifically what kind of formats you need to be able to work with. Layout, because see, when it comes to a layout, they are understanding, they are testing certain kind of words, certain vocabulary, like spatial vocabulary, okay? In the corner of the room, on the far right of the room, what do all these words mean? That's what they're testing, okay? Sentence completion, they're testing different kind of vocabulary. If it's a normal notes completion, different vocabulary. If it's a form completion, units and measurement, different vocabulary. So all these parts have a very specific targeted function. So to understand the different formats, that's when your practice tests come in the most handy. So you're able to pinpoint, okay, these are the kind of words that I need to know. Timings, schedules, all of those things that are very useful on a day-to-day basis. Buying something online, getting an insurance, making a booking, a reservation, stuff that you will have to do in life if you want to not live like a hermit, okay? So that's why don't just use practice IELTS to prepare for everything. Accents, important info, retention, all of that you can practice through other interesting sources. Formats you can practice through the IELTS practice test. Okay, this is essentially all you need to do for the listening section. Get comfortable listening to the English language and understanding, which in any case most of us are able to do. All right, so that's it for my tips for the listening section. I hope you found that helpful, and I hope you know all the different kind of questions that you're going to see. Even if you don't know this well in advance, even on test day, you will be able to see the kind of questions you have to answer at least 30 seconds in advance. And those 30 seconds are also more than enough for you to familiarize yourself with what's coming, okay? So it's never too late, no excuses. Fill out this form if you haven't already. You will find it in the description. And subscribe to the channel and follow us on Telegram for more such interesting videos. I will see you soon. Please do take care of yourselves and keep preparing like a champ. Bye-bye.